Hey guys, it's pronounced Vag. Today we're working on an intercooler, APR intercooler for the S5. We're also going to be doing this massive H&R front sway bar.
Yeah, do some lifts.
Dude, it's like 30 pounds at least, probably more. Slam it on the ground, get it all scruffed up. Anyways, so we're working on, we've got the car jacked up, we took the wheels off, you got to get in here to get the bumper, the front clip off and stuff. Found a few little gotchas, and so we're going to go over those in this video. We are by no means experts, but we are two dudes who are buying stuff for our car and trying to install them. So whenever we come across something that we think we can highlight that's not included in the instructions, it will help you out, we're going to show you. We got the intercooler stuff over here. Pardon my mess in the garage, but you got the APR intercooler, new hoses, all the mounting hardware, and of course, again, the sway bar. So we're gonna get this install going. You'll probably see us again when we try and show you some of the little challenges we ran into. And then after that, probably again once everything's apart and we're putting the intercooler and stuff on. So see you in a few. All right, so here's one of those areas we were talking about. So we've got all the bolts and all the T25 screws and T30 screws or whatever removed, and our next step here is to like gently, very gently, work to kind of fold this back. And it's a little bit of a challenge to get out from under this lip, but if you can get it away enough, you can see all the way back up in here is actually where the T30 bolt is. If you've got a ratchet with a long extension, this is what we found worked the best to get back in there and take that off. And so you can get in there. It's not actually very tight. It just kind of comes off fairly easily. Seeing it and getting the light back there and lining it up is the challenging part. Making sure you stay on there. Okay, that is out.
Yeah.
All right, so got the screw loose. If you've got one of these magnet things, it is a metal screw back there, so you're gonna want to use that to pull the sucker out. Will be a lifesaver. The next thing is, if you can see right here, there's a little plastic piece, and this is where the instructions are similar to the S4 but slightly different. So you get in and you can kind of just use a flat head to lift that up, but you can't really get the whole thing. So we've got a tiny nasty pair of needle nose pliers here, and this worked for us on the other side after some goofing around with it. But you can get just enough of a pull with the pliers to get that base to start to rise out of there. And then once you get the base, it's actually kind of two parts. Then you can pull, and you can reach in here and you can pull the whole thing. And you want it to stay together like that. I mean, I'm guessing. It looks like it'd be bad if it came apart. So anyways, two little tips and tricks that we kind of found that just helped us out on this. It tells you what to do in the instructions, but the S5 is a little bit different than the S4. A couple little places will be just really slightly different. We thought we'd help you out.
Hey broski, what you doing?
I'm about ready to do another tip for you guys. So we're looking at this right here, right? These are the instructions from APR.
Number 17.
So you don't really see this picture unless you're underneath the car, we think. We're pretty sure. We found the alternator here. You can actually kind of spot it back from this angle, which you can't get because I'm here. But it looks like the way that they're actually taking the shot is from underneath. So since we're also doing the sway bar anyways today, we're gonna pull the belly pan off, or the belly plate, or whatever you call that. And there's actually two pieces under there. So if you see these instructions when you're doing this yourself, don't freak out, just pull that off, and I think it's gonna make it a lot easier to get to everything anyways. And then of course we've got to do it if we're gonna do the sway bar. So That's it.
Oh man.
This might be more complicated than I was thinking. So you kind of think this would just pull down. Oh. So do I just need this whole thing? Yeah. This whole thing. So I can get that off of it. What I do with that other? All right, so belly pan removed. Now you can see this is really similar to the picture that you see on the iPad up there. So anyways, we'll be able to access this a lot easier here. And then you can see the stock sway bar coming by or coming through here that we'll be replacing. So yeah, next steps. All right, so we got a couple of extra stock pieces. This is a pain to get off. Have a friend help you. Use screwdrivers and muscle and jiggle it around a lot.
Be careful.
Yeah, be careful. You can tell there's a pretty big difference between the stock intercooler. It's got plenty of rocks in it, and the APR intercooler. So yeah, it's a bit more area of coverage to cool down that air. So looking forward to getting it on and seeing how it's going to be. We're going to get this thing installed. We'll be back. All right, so the intercooler's in. It's way too late at night, but got it in there. Car's all back together. What's up? So we're back. We don't have the front sway bar on yet, so we'll be getting that on soon. I'll do another video with driving impressions and some installation notes on that. It's unfortunate because we did get most of the car apart to like most of the way to where you need to be in order to get that you know, installed, a bunch of the plastic bobs and bits off the bottom, but we took our time with the install for the intercooler. We'll cover some of that in the driving notes. Anyways, we got it in. I didn't get all the pictures that I wanted to get once we had like the front bumper and everything off and got the intercooler in, but we did get really just removing some of the screws and the plastic bits that took us a while to figure out before we, you know, actually got to removing the bumper, which was in the end quite easy. I'd say overall it's a simple project. Just take your time and be careful. If you know what you're doing, you could probably do it in an hour and a half, 2 hours. Took me 3.5, maybe 4 with all the interruptions and everything. So anyways, I'll show you some video of the intercooler installed on the car with the grill and the bumper on, and you can see what you can see. And then driving impressions are coming up next. All right, so driving impressions. Got the intercooler installed last night. Been driving around a little bit today. Highway, a little bit of spirited accelerations, all within the speed limits, of course. Here's what I've found after installing the APR intercooler. First and foremost, I don't have anything scientific to back this up, but maybe it's placebo effect, but I was actually just in at Auc Tuning, kind of talking with them, and it seems to be the experience that most people are finding, including APR, but they've installed intercooler on like an SQ5 and had similar feedback, and you know, maybe a couple other vehicles. Anyways, it feels faster. Turbo spool feels quicker, a little bit more yank, maybe a little bit more torque coming out of the turns. It's pretty, like, the car just feels faster all around. I can't quantify it any other way than, you know, from a butt dyno perspective. It feels like I've made an improvement. No check engine lights, everything's good. I've been watching the temperature. It's just the oil temperature, not necessarily the intake temperature. Of course, the intercooler's job is to cool down the air temperatures have remained constantly a couple degrees lower. Typically I see, when I'm driving the car hard, it can be around, 202 to 212, sometimes 214 degrees, and then it'll sort of cool down. And what I found is it's generally not really getting above 208 was the spike that I've seen in similar driving conditions that I do, in a spirited fashion. So, really a little bit of overall improvement on the engine cooling. So that's definitely something that's present. I'm assuming, the colder air that's being, forced into the engine is also one of the additional benefits and why I might feel a power difference. So, again, there's not a lot else to say about an intercooler mod, but it feels great. I kind of would recommend it. This is sort of in preparation for stage 1 tune from APR for me. They made a post that basically said, they think that, or they stated that having the intercooler mod in addition to stage 1 was yielded more power than stage 1 without it. They said, I think their exact words were like, you'd be leaving a lot on the table. Of course, I don't know what a lot is, but if I can feel a difference on just the stock tune, then I would imagine they'd be able to tune specifically for it and take advantage of it. So the install was fun. It took about 3.5 hours of actual install time, probably 4 hours from start to finish, including all the interruptions. We pointed out some little tips and tricks. The instructions that come with the intercooler are for the S4. The S5 has some slight deviations with regard to construction and how everything goes together. I think it's similar enough where you can figure it out, but it's different enough where you might look at a picture or two and kind of scratch your head. So we did our best to kind of point some of those out in this video. Unfortunately, I didn't take any video or pictures really of the car with the bumper on and the new intercooler in place. You can see those online or in other posts. I'll do my best to maybe insert a picture of some kind of an example into this video so you can see not necessarily my car, but another car with that. But other than that, I mean, it's a fairly simple, fairly straightforward installation. It's just, making sure you have the confidence as you're kind of tearing into some things. Parts of the car that you're just not used to taking off or taking apart. There are a lot of plastic pieces that you've got to remove in order to be able to get access. Some are outlined in the instructions. One that we found that wasn't was actually the belly pan. We pulled the belly pan off to have easier access to some of the intercooler pipes or hoses, and we kind of outlined that earlier in this video, I think. So my recommendation, just a dude with a car and the ability to turn a wrench, is if you have the money and want to do it, and then it's a worthwhile mod. It's a great install. The piece is super high quality, all new hoses. The biggest challenge I had with the actual installation of the intercooler itself was lining all of the intercooler hoses up. Stock on the driver's side intake pipe or charge pipe or whatever that is it's a fairly substantial chunk of rubber hose, and it's not your typical rubber. It's like a harder version of rubber, a little bit more smooth, and it's got a built-in spot for the map sensor and all those things. And it the silicone hoses and replacement parts, super high quality from APR, but they are you know, getting them exactly lined up and looking at the picture, trying to make sure that everything is just right, and the fact that, you know, the tolerances between the silicone and the clamps and there's like a billet piece that the map sensor gets mounted to. The tolerances are so good or so tight that, you know, it's a challenge to sort of loosely fit everything together and still be able to move it around and get it in the right position. So basically what I did was a couple of dry fits without the clamps on, and then pulled the hose out, put the clamps on the billet part, and tightened them down, and then put the hose back in place, and everything lined up right. And that just seemed to be, you know, the easiest way, because once we got everything where it was, I didn't pull the ECU off, which isn't included in the directions, but it was clear that the ECU had been pulled off during the installation in the pictures that they're showing. So, you know, again, just some little differences between what we found versus how their pictures are depicting, you know, the actual installation. So, you know, belly pan and ECU definitely not called out. You could pull them off if you want. I elected not to. That's how I dealt with it. Getting the belly pan, you know, back installed was a little bit of a challenge, only because there's a lot of T25 Torx and T30 bolts underneath the cars and in the wheel wells and everything. Just make sure you know exactly where they go back in. I eventually got everything lined back up, but you know, would have been better to label a Ziploc bag and put them in there instead of my other method, which was I had a whole excuse me, a whole bunch of masking tape rolls that I just dropped everything in to go along with the parts that we pulled out. But anyways, you guys are smarter than me on that stuff, and I'm sure you can figure it out. In summary, if you can and you want a little bit of performance increase, man, go buy the APR Intercooler. I bought mine from Auc Tuning. They're a great local tuning shop. They're an APR dealer. You know, they're great guys to talk to. They've done the work on my previous A4, and I go to them for advice and conversations, and just, you know, all the purchases that I'll be making for this S5. And so anyways, hope you have a good one. Remember, it's pronounced bag, and we'll end the video there. Thanks.